Welcome to the Recovering Preacher's Kids, a space for healing, honesty, and leaving a legacy of faith without perfection. We're your hosts, Lisa and Lori, and we're so glad you're here.
Do you like the YouTube videos or the social media videos that are like 3 steps to fry chicken, or like the 5 steps of how to, I don't even know, whatever, clean a rug? I'll watch hours of somebody cleaning a rug. But do you like those kind of videos where they're like giving you the top 3 ways to do something or the top 5 ways to do something? Like, do you like that kind of stuff, or do you like that bores you and you just move on?
No, I want it like condensed, concise. Give me the easy, give me the skinny, give me the don't make it difficult.
Do
I
you
just
do you feel like you ever like weave that into your Christian walk as well? Are you like looking for the top 5 ways to study the Bible, or the top 5 ways to be a Christian, or the top 5 ways to forgive somebody? Like, apply that same theory into your Christian walk. Do you feel like you tend to do that?
unfortunately, I think that's been my whole entire Christian life.
I think it's
I
been
mean,
my
to be
whole
quite honest.
life.
Do what?
It's just been my whole life.
Maybe it's the whole, yeah. It's just like, just because I'm one of these, let's just tell me the rules, just tell me the steps, just tell me what I have to do to be all right. So
Right.
as long as I know, well, this is how this works, then okay, I'm okay. So yes, I have applied that to my spiritual walk. Yes.
And the reason I asked you is I've been thinking, like, last week we did a podcast about living on borrowed faith. And, we talked about how we tend to like just believe what somebody else believes. And we talked about different stories in the Bible that we had just believed that they were a certain way and they weren't. But I've just been thinking a lot about that. I tend to live on more than just the story of other people. And I don't know if you do. I have begun to realize from that podcast that I tend to also live on someone's borrowed plan, if that's the right word. Like,
Okay.
I see the path that this believer is following, and what I see is, oh, these are the 5 ways I'm supposed to do this. But then this person over here, maybe they do something a little different. And I'm like, oh, so this is the top 5 ways. And so it's almost like instead of living a life mapped out by God for me, I tend to take like a little bit of this person and a little bit of this person and a little bit of this person, and look at it like that's my walk with God. Like this person over here, their quiet time with God is reading a devotional. So then I'm like, okay, so that's what I need to do is read a devotional. And then this person over here is like, oh, I'll listen to a podcast. I'm like, okay, so now I need to listen to a podcast too. And before long, I feel overwhelmed because I'm doing all these things that I think are all these right things, and none of them are right for me.
Yeah. Because I can get into this whole thing when you start listening to people talk about how they get up at 5 or 5:30 before everybody gets up and gets stirring, and they have their hour quiet time. And and I'll be honest, when I was a young mother and I had 4 children running around, I just did good just to get everybody up and out of the house and clothes, and dressed.
Mm-hmm.
I never really understood. I'm like, how am I supposed to have a quiet time? How am I supposed to spend an hour? And that's what I kept hearing, you'd spend an hour. So yet again, I was borrowing someone else's step of quiet time in the word when I have all this to do. And then when the day's over, you go and you work, and the day's over, I fall asleep before I'm done. And then I'm beating myself up, and then I give up on it. And because I'm trying to do somebody else's, yes, plan and pray. You're supposed to be in prayer this long. I hear all this. Have you ever heard, oh, set a timer, start out this long, and then that's how long you pray, and just add 5 minutes every day. And I'm not much of a talker, So it was almost like, I don't have anything to talk about. What you want to talk about?
I'm all ears.
I'm all ears. Talk to me, you know?
It's like I think that I yearned for answers so bad, and I know the Holy Spirit can give me those answers, but I tend to gravitate more towards something that's tangible, something like a book I can read or a podcast I can listen to. And that sometimes it's easy, like to listen to a podcast or read a book or watch a YouTube video or whatever. And you have this anticipation that you're going to walk away with all the answers.
Mhm.
And so I almost beat myself up that I must be missing the point and missing something, and there's something wrong with me because I either don't have all the answers for myself, or why does this person seem to have the answer and I have nothing? And I'm just
What am I
wondering
doing
if
wrong?
that's just me. Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? Yeah. No, no, I don't think it's just you. I mean, I think that's all of us. And I mean, maybe some of it, or I guess if we're honest, maybe it's all of us who are starting out in our faith. We try to put so much on and try to take from everybody, this is how you do it. And then we become overwhelmed and then you just give up, and then,
Mhm.
we just never grow. We stay the infants like Paul talks about. We like just stay on the milk, the 5-minute devotion or the little story that comes across or whatever, and we stay on that as our nourishment, and that's how the little niblets.
And I think too, I I've just kind of been doing a study on Moses. Like Moses is my jam. I don't know why that dude makes sense to me, but God has been showing me so much about my life as I've studied Moses. And but I was reading a few weeks ago where, God was talking to Moses at the burning bush, and he's like, "You're gonna go talk to Pharaoh," and Moses is like, "Nuh-uh," and God's like, "Yeah." And so, but God goes ahead and he tells Moses, "But I'm gonna harden Pharaoh's heart, and he's not gonna let the people go." And then he says, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart for 2 reasons. One is because I want the Israelites to see that I am their provision, I am their portion, I am enough, I am their deliverer. And I want the Egyptians to see how powerful I am. And I think that when the storms of life come for me, I struggle to see the lesson in all of it. And so it's easier for me to live on a borrowed faith of someone else than or the path that someone else has done. Or it's easier for me to say, well, so and so went through something like this similar, and this is the lesson they learned. So that must be the lesson God's trying to teach me. And what I'm realizing is none of that is true because the lesson or the growth or the maturity is unique and specific to me. And I think that, I mean, have we reached a point in our society where we are more concerned about the top 5 things to do than we are about spending the time with God and spending time in the Word? Because, like I've shared, God speaks to me not audibly, but in some of the weirdest ways. Like, a cloud over a building, God can show me something in that, but he may not do that to you.
Yeah.
But he may show you something in a specific way. And I think that the only way you figure out how God really talks to you and spends that time with you or talks to you is to spend time with him, is the point I'm trying to make. I'm
Right.
using a whole lot of words, so I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense, but I think I want to encourage somebody today that you're not less than, because I feel that way a lot. I feel like a crappy believer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's me too. It was just, I mean, we grew up preacher's kids, and I think that's why I feel that way a lot more is because there was so much pressure on, oh, well, you're supposed to know how to do this. You're supposed to know how to read the Bible and interpret it and pray and all that. And I mean, just a simple thing of learning and being willing to say, "Hey, I didn't realize this," is as you were talking and you were talking about Moses, like I learned that in Sunday school that Moses wrote Psalms 90.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know. I mean, I would have never put Moses in writing a Psalms. But anyway, talking about the troubles, he wrote in there that just kind of stuck. And I guess it's an example of how, God uses when you get in the word, he'll speak to you through the word. Is that in verse 15, it says, make us glad for as many days as you have afflicted us, for as many years as we have been troubled. And the verse in front of it was talking about singing for joy. So it was like the whole point was help us stay, even in the bad times, may we rejoice. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, kind of like that's just a one verse of that, just a simple verse that kind of just spoke to me this week by spending some time and just reading and looking at it.
Well, and I don't think it's as hard as what we make it.
Yeah.
I think it is wonderful that there are people who get up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning and spend an hour or two with the Lord. I think that is amazing. If I am up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, something terrible has happened because sister girl is going to sleep till the last second before she got to get up. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think that we have to stop believing the lies of the enemy that our unique walk with Christ is wrong. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest things I'm learning is I've got to stop listening to the lies. Last week when you told the story about the Bengal cub and the little micro sins and it just kind of adds and adds and adds. For me, what I'm realizing is all those little things add up to the point that then it makes me want to give up.
Yes. Yes.
And
Because I can't
I'm
complete it all. And if I can't
and I
complete it and check it off the list, does that make sense? I'm the check.
Yes, and I'm
Then I give
never
up.
going to
Yeah.
be where this person is. I'm never gonna reach what this person is because I've created the narrative in my mind that this person is 15 levels ahead of me. I don't even know this person. I don't even know what they're you know what I that sounds
Yeah.
so silly, but that's kind of what I do sometimes is I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're so further up the ladder than I am." Well, I don't know, maybe they feel the same way. But we believe the lie that we're somehow behind.
And we got to hurry up and catch up. Yeah.
To
I
what? What
never
are we trying to catch
right.
up to?
I had never thought about it like that, you know? And as you were talking, I can remember a example that Beth Moore used to say as women that as a woman of faith, you should have a woman on your left that's older and a woman to your right that's younger, so that you have someone on your left who is pouring into you and helping you, and then we have someone behind us
Mhm.
doing it, that we're doing the same thing. And maybe that's the concept we need to take is instead of trying to be exactly like this person, because they've had if they're an older person, they've had a lot longer, most experience in
Mhm.
their walk, to give some tips or encouragement of just like what you're saying. You don't have to be on level 15. If you're on level 2, that's fine. You're just starting out. Give yourself a little bit of grace to learn how this works and ask the questions, and maybe that's something for me is I'm starting to ask some questions now where I didn't think you were allowed to ask questions, if that makes sense. Like if
Yeah.
that's what was said in the pulpit, then that's the way you had to take it. And I don't want that sounds so bad. Maybe I don't know how to rephrase that. That's the way it was I took it. So therefore, because they were the preacher, that might be the better way. Because they were the preacher, they knew it all. But I
Well,
didn't go
and
back and ask the questions myself to kinda understand where they were going, if that makes sense. So
yes. And to go back to what you were saying a minute ago, what we need to realize too is it's a constant back and forth. So while I might be further down the road in learning to I don't know, y'all, I ain't further enough down the road to even really give an example, but maybe someone is further down the road with, say, forgiveness, okay, than I
That's
am,
a good.
or maybe we'll just say that, but I still might be on a level 2 in other areas of my walk. I think that's one of the things I'm finally figuring out is I am
Yes.
all over the place. I might be further down my walk with Christ in one area of my life, but there's this whole other area of my life that I am still like crawling. I ain't even got up off my hands and knees on that one. And I tend to think, well, then that means I'm not anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to go on that direction because that's an interesting point. Because somewhere along the line, we thought we had to have it all figured out. This is like almost like the fruit of the spirit, that we thought we had that was the way our life was supposed to look. We were supposed to be love. Was it love, joy, peace, gentleness,
Self control.
control?
I
Yes,
don't have
y'all
any
know,
of those. The fruits of the spirit are a struggle.
But, it's almost like or, the 10 Commandments, if you could say, "Okay, I got the 10 Commandments down," then, okay, I got it. But that's not and I guess that was the whole point when Jesus started teaching where, well, you can say you didn't murder, but if you hate your brother, well, then that's the same thing as murder, We just I gotta let go of the rules is what it's going back to developing that relationship in the manner that suits me, that works for me and him. Is that am I saying that right? At
Yes.
this at the speed, at my speed, not the speed that I see somebody else or you or whatever.
Uh, I haven't finished this season of The Chosen, but as you were talking, my mind went back to a previous season, and this is not in the Bible, and I understand the producers and all them of the show The Chosen, they take a lot of liberty because they got some gaps they got to fill in. You know what I'm saying? Because some
Right.
things are just not in the Bible, so there's some liberty there. But this scene really spoke to me because Mary Magdalene, God had saved her. I mean, Jesus came along and rid her of the demons, when she became a follower of Christ. But in this particular episode, she kind of went back to her old life, and Jesus sent the disciples to go get her and bring her back. And the scene is she goes into the tent where Jesus is, and she is so shameful she can't even look up at him. And he's going, Mary, look at me. And she's like, Lord, I can't even look at you. And he's like, look at me. And when she finally looks up, he says something to the effect of, did you not think I didn't think this day would come? And that scene really spoke to me because at the end of the day, we're going to keep tripping. Until we get home, we're going to keep tripping. And the difference is we've got to keep getting back up. We've got to, and I think that's one of the keys to it is we have to keep getting back up because using your example of the tiger, like, isn't that how you get you grow from the cub, you get rid of all the little cubs and you grow and you mature, is that you just keep getting back up. But you can't, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but the older I get, I can't get up off the floor like I used to. It's quite a show. So I can't get up off the floor like my 9-year-old grandson can, but I can still get up off the floor. So why would I compare my ability to get my old self up off the floor compared to a 9-year-old who still has good knees? Do you know what I'm saying? And it's
Yeah.
like we've got to stop the comparison, I think is the whole point I'm trying to
Bottom.
make.
Yep.
We've got to stop with that.
That's a good point. And I think for me, where I've probably heard things to be like, okay, for us, we're trying to encourage our listeners here. I've taken the encouragement as of developing your walk as more of, okay, I'm not doing it right. And that's not the avenue we're going down. Is more of let's take the encouragement of, hey, just just take the time, whatever it is. I mean, if it's just 5 minutes to sit there at lunch and read from your Bible, your version, a Bible plan or whatever, and that's where you start,
Mhm.
as long as you're starting to develop and put it into practice and develop the habit. I hate to call it a habit, but to be quite honest, that's what it is. And for me, sometimes prayer is a hard thing. I mean, very hard. I could sit there and, I mean, I hate to say it, we pray before we do the podcast and I can start praying, but then while you're praying, my mind's over here and I'm wandering over here. And then it's like, oh, and then I end up beating myself up because I'm thinking of 3 things. My mind wanders. But instead of taking the words of trying to be encouragement as condemnation, and that's a me thing. That's not people who have said things to me. It's just based on my personality and how I take things of I'm not living up to a standard. So therefore I get frustrated and I give up, or I try harder and I try to implement something else. And that's not what we're trying to do here. Is just to pretty much just say we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to figure it out and just take the first step in learning and digging in yourself.
And I think books and podcasts and devotionals,
Yes.
commentaries, I think all those things are great tools.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't look at all those things as our walk with Christ, our personal, unique walk with Him. I think they're good tools to guide us and lead us. But I think when we depend on them, that's where we fall back in the category of the
Yes.
borrowed faith.
Right. Yes.
You
Right.
know, we're not, because then you're staying in the milk and you're not moving forward.
Well, it's just like being in school. You know, when you were in first grade, you didn't learn something that's taught in 10th grade, right? I mean, everything, like math, everything built on each other. Our pastor says that all the time. We're in Acts right now on Wednesday nights. And, he has said several times, I mean, things in scripture build on each other. And, as you just stay consistent, you start seeing these things. I guess now I understand when some people started talking all the, like, I thought they had all the answers, but they just started spending the time and the consistency, and they started letting it build on each other. And, that, I guess that's just where we go. I need to start, is to realize, if I'm still in first grade, I don't need to think that I need to be on the 10th grade level and use the book or the commentary or the Bible study to help me understand Genesis chapters 1 through 11, which is what I'm doing right now. To say, I've never seen that before. That all makes sense. That's a good thing. Just now I can file that away and apply it on the next one I read or do.
All right, y'all, that's a wrap for today's episode. If something in this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or just made you feel seen, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them. Send it to a friend, drop it in a group chat, or post it on your story. That kind of support means the world to us. You always find every episode, updates, and more over at therecoveringpreacherskids.com. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you next time.